this is going to be our Shang Chi recap and review.
Yep. And just to be clear, yet again, there are going to be some spoilers all up in this.
Yeah, spoiler review. This is
we got to do it.
You've had 2 days.
We had 2 days. You had plenty of time. If you need to take some more time, go watch it and then come back and watch this.
Yeah. That being said, we're moving right along. Okay, so starting out, we see the MCU's version of the Mandarin, which is sort of an amalgamation of the Mandarin itself and Fu Manchu, a very problematic and racist villain from Marvel history and actually a lot of literary history. And on screen was usually played by a white man in what we like to call yellow face.
Yep.
And retcon into something else. But yes, that's pretty much this guy, played by veteran dope actor Tony Leung.
Who I gotta say, he really did an excellent job throughout this entire movie. I'll have no problem saying right off the bat, put in strong villain character work, man.
Yes. Yeah. So we see him doing his worldwide conquest. He has a lust for power fueled by the 10 rings because he's already crazy, and it's extended over centuries. And
people whooping people all over the world.
Yeah.
He's
in France.
Yeah, he's been whipping people with these rings all across Europe and everything.
He meets Yang Li, and they have this duel inside the mythical land of Ta Lo because he is searching for this mythical land of Ta Lo because he is a power-hungry megalomaniac.
He figures that if he can get access to this place, that it can give him some goods.
Made his way to Ta Lo, lost his whole crew, didn't care.
Not one bit.
For what we find out later, pretty much enters another dimension and gets met with Yang Li, and they have a duel, and she pretty much bests him with what seems to be Tai Chi.
Yeah, she definitely beat him down with the airbending.
Yeah, she definitely airbent his ass. I think this movie harkened back to some scenes that I remember in Crouching Tiger as well as House of Flying Daggers.
There were definitely some moments where
both movies have this sort of airbending type deal going on where they start, using a Tai Chi sort of form and using the wind and like letting the wind flow with them.
Wind movements and CGI things start happening.
Yeah. Yes. The dude who shot The Matrix shot this one, so
and that's why it looks fire.
Yeah. And so she bests him. So for some reason, that turns them both on, and they have a kid. That kid, Shang-Chi. They have another one that is Xialing. Speaking chronologically, that's why we said spoilers ahead. During this point, both of them left their powers behind to raise a family. But the bill always comes due, as Mordo said. And
debts have to get collected.
Debts had to get collected. Blood oaths had to be paid in blood. And the entire Iron Gang came and just jumped Shang-Chi's mom by herself. Which, I mean, she handled all these dudes.
She did. They all got handled. They all died. All in the span of my God, just going to Kroger.
So even though she got killed, they were still sorry. Because y'all all got faded.
That's true. That's hella true.
So this starts Shang-Chi's brutal training by his dad, who now has picked back up the 10 rings and restarted his empire. And he eventually trains Shang to go and kill the man who killed his mother. And Shang just runs away. Just doesn't come back. He goes to high school in the U.S., meets his homegirl.
Dips out to Katie. He dips out to where we find them at the beginning of the movie, which is the Bay Area, San Francisco.
Yeah, they're up in the Bay, valeting cars for rich dudes. And after they get off work, they go and get hammered. They do karaoke. We hear Old Town Road. We hear A Whole New World, which might be some foreshadowing. And then we see Shang-Chi's bedroom, and we see a picture. I noticed 2 things. I noticed a Stankonia poster in his room.
Respect.
And a Kung Fu Hustle poster, which the character, what was his name?
Guangbo.
He was one of the main characters in Kung Fu Hustle. He was the old husband. So, a little bit. There's a lot of that in this movie, though. Because this is a movie done right as far as, like, martial arts and Asian cinema and stuff goes. It's very divergent of the MCU.
Just a lot of nice touches.
Yeah. And so, once we get past that, but he goes to pick her up before work, and we meet her family. And her family is pretty much traditionally Chinese as well. And her grandmother talks about having respect for the dead family members that have passed on. A theme that we see repeated throughout the movie, very heavily in a few different ways.
Yeah, one of the two or three central themes in that movie is that for sure.
Post this, they get on the bus on the way to work.
And this is where things start to get rolling.
Yeah.
Figuratively and literally.
Yes. And on the bus, they're chilling, and all of a sudden, these hooded dudes just roll up and accost Shang Chi, who's now going by Sean, by the way.
Yeah, he's
And
Sean.
he just kind of brushes it off, which, by the way, I don't know what you thought was going to happen because you knew who those dudes were, and you knew that they knew who you were. So I don't know why you just tried to walk off like you should.
I really don't know why he tried to play it off like, nah, bro. Anyways, they stand there. They tell him to run it for this pendant.
Yeah, and he's like, get out of my face.
He's like, get out of my face. And then there we go. He handles a few of the lesser minion dudes.
Yeah.
In a great showing. Shout out to my man that was on the bus doing the live stream on the phone, because that's how it really would be out here. My man getting crazy views.
He said he actually took a few martial arts classes, so he's going to try to grade the fight.
Yeah, so, Shang-Chi, he handles them other ones, but then my guy, Razor Fist, comes through, and that is where the chaos gets ratcheted up just a little bit. Of course, we got the compromised bus driver, my man, Razor Fist, messes up the brakes, so now we got a little of the Speed the Movie action.
The Speed the Movie is happening. The compromised bus driver, Red from Five Heartbeats, is the one dude from Speed, but this bus driver is just shit out of luck. By the way, the dude streaming is the same guy who asked Spider-Man to do a flip. By then, I would have put my phone away or dropped my phone to try to get off the bus or something, but he kept it, dude.
He's dedicated, bro. He's trying to get monetized.
Yeah, he was trying to get monetized quick.
You feel me? I don't hate you.
Speaking of which, like, share, and subscribe, Culture Core Academy.
Hey, we would like to get monetized too. We can get you some more great footage if that happens,
Yep, you know what I'm saying?
But look, that scene happens, and my man loses the pendant, but he manages to kind of foil the villains. And I gotta say, when we had just finished seeing that scene in the theaters, I had to lean over and I told my dude right off the rip, that scene right there, yes, we've all seen the kind of busting the loose skit, before in movies, but this one still hit. And I gotta say, it's up there with Spider-Man in the subway train for me.
It really is. No, it's one thing that makes it even better is that it's using another martial arts movie trope, and that is objects from the settings around you, popularized by, another the Jackie Chan. So this made that scene even crazier with dude slicing the bus, dude messing up the brakes.
The laptop.
Yeah,
the laptop getting used.
Yeah, he's using the bars on the bus, like all that's part. And like his stuff is more slapstick while they're trying to kill him, and he's still like sitting up here beating their ass. Well, basically what Caleb is saying is combining that and a freaking super characteristically collateral damage fight scene, chase scene on on the street with a bus in a superhero movie makes something really cool and fresh,
Yeah, but they managed to kind of combine two different worlds into something that I thought turned out really great. All that happens, our two kind of protagonist characters kind of have to have a heart-to-heart, and Sean has to let Katie know that he's actually Shang Chi, that is.
He's the son of an immortal warlord.
Right, and here's the thing. Through all this, he says he's got to go find his sister because he thinks that his father's coming for her and he's got to help save her.
So they promptly dip.
Katie is a rider, for real.
She's like, you're telling me on the plane. Yeah.
So they dip off. They head to Macau. Again, because it's Macau. It's not Madripoor, though they look very similar. They're in Macau. They hit up the nightlife. They go to the address where they think his sister's going to be, and they do find her there, sort of. But first, they enter this weird kind of illegal fighting setup.
Yeah, so we see the Kumite, or I don't know what, the 10th Realms Mortal Kombat, I don't know.
10th Realms, something like that.
We see one of them tournaments, Bloodsport, you know what I'm saying? I call it the Kumite, but the MCU is Kumite. On the way inside, we see the preliminary matches, and if you look closely, there is a Black Widow fighting somebody imbued with extremists. We also see, was it Honda?
Oh, yeah, I definitely go back and look at that scene, but pretty sure we all saw my man E. Honda just bodying Ryu in one of those little tiny cells. That
Pretty
were
sure
fighting
we
in.
did.
That did not work good at all. My dude, I guess he was all out of the Hadoukens, but he was getting hurt.
You sure wasn't using none here, I'll tell you that much. This wasn't his movie, though.
So
We see our boy, Wong, fighting the Abomination, who's more
right.
comic accurate somehow. Somehow this dude done grew some fins. And it was Tim Roth. It's the same character. He's listed in the credits.
Oh, okay. And listen to credit. Got some extra accessories now. though.
Get your money. Yeah, I don't know where you got your fins from, but yeah, I'm here for him. So now that we see that super strength can straight up crush those magic shields that the magicians can just conjure, Wong tricks Abomination into sleeping himself. And then after that, not even a post-credit scene explainer, we just see him open a sling ring portal into what just seems like, is that the raft? Like where is he being held? Like how is he? Is he train? He's just training him like we practiced. What?
It's like we practiced. Apparently, that fight to me looks like it was a work. Looks like it was a little WWE Vince Monday Night Raw action. It was fake.
Yeah. So what are they doing?
But you know what?
Because we see Wong again later, and that's still not explained.
Right. I wish we found out, but it does not come up at all. Yeah. So my man runs into his sister in the ring. She's none too happy to see him at all. Probably because your boy did kind of dip out on her and say he was coming back in 3 days and then never came back. So that's kind of a hard thing to do. A little harsh there. But anyways, he explains the scenario after he gets beat down. And as they're talking things over, basically their dad pulls up.
Yeah.
The postcard thing, it was all a misdirection. It was a setup to get them both in the same area. And that sets off a kind of a mad dash, and it led into kind of, I would say, big action scene number 2 for this movie.
Well, if we don't count the fights that we just saw.
If we're not counting, if we're not counting the fights.
Now we see a big bamboo ladder scene that sort of reminds us of some older kung fu movie scenes like Return of the 36 Chambers or Jackie Chan's First Strike.
Yeah, definitely First Strike vibes for me.
And there's a lot of old school kung fu movie vibes in here. There's a lot of new school kung fu movie vibes in this.
If you can tell, we haven't talked about it yet on here, but we kind of know a lot about the kung fu movie thing too. In case you didn't know, we're the Academy, y'all.
Yes, we are.
But I digress. That was a really fun scene. There's a lot of high stakes. You got a lot of dangerous moments happening.
See where actual loyalties lie in this space, because we thought we were deceived a moment earlier when Xia Ling decides to leave Shang Chi and Katie for dead.
She definitely just dipped out through the secret passageway.
But she comes back and aids Shang-Chi in saving Katie and their own lives. First of all, they handle all these dudes still off the hands meter right now. Still completely off the hands meter. They handle what seems to be the entire 10 rings sent after them.
Jacking. They were, man, I can't even explain what it was like to just see this happen so consistently through a 2-hour movie.
They handle all of them, and then next thing you know, Death Dealer shows back up, who used to be training Shang-Chi. And Shang-Chi pretty much bodies dude, in my opinion.
I mean,
he was
about to handle his old sensei.
Yeah.
Until
he was stopped by
until
Winwu.
Dad came through.
Yeah. Winwu says, "No, let's not do this," and it's very terrifying. And they get transported to the Ten Rings compound through some hell. They get helicoptered out because Pops is still balling. He's an immortal warlord.
Yeah, man. He's basically if you need an analogy for who Renwu is. He's basically M. Bison. Mm-hmm. This is Shadow Law, all that.
Mm-hmm. And so, as they return home, we get a little culture shock because Katie is by all means American. Katie is not a traditional Chinese person. She's a person born in America. You can see how she talks. She's a little out of place when she goes to the Ten Rings compound, which is very traditionally Chinese, and they have dinner. During the dinner, gets interrupted. They go to this crazy room where they figure out the real purpose of their pendants is to activate this dragon totem that makes water move in the form of...
It was a map
of
the maze to get to Tao Lo. We found out from their father that this whole thing is about trying to bring their mother back. Mm-hmm. He says he hears their mom's voice calling them in the middle of the night, and that's why he's so hell bent on trying to get back to Taldo.
I want to relate this part to two things. The telling of the legend of Talo defending from the realm of darkness reminds me of how recently He Who Remains was telling his history on Loki with that technology right there, and also how we got told in the history of Vibranium and Bast at the beginning of Black Panther, if you know what I mean. Also, how Ego explained his history to Star-Lord and the rest of the Guardians.
Yeah, the solid point now that you mentioned, yeah.
Those little montages, those CGI montages that tell the history of the MCU in different ways. Mm-hmm. That brought it there. And his lust for power, Winwu, and the way he's acting right now, being drawn in by what's called the Dweller in the Darkness, actually. It's a very strange telling on an older comic book character that we haven't seen that much, but it's important to mention that that's who that is.
That's
not just a solo creation.
Right, that is what it's derived from, but you know how the MCU does. They kind of take a little bit of the original and then add a little bit of their own flair to do what they want to do with it.
Which this version of, I enjoyed.
Hey, I had no problems with it.
Moving into that, this is like Smeagol and the Ring of Power, and Lord of the Rings. It's the same kind of movie trope, you know what I mean? Where his lust for this power over this MacGuffin is literally driving this dude into a version of insanity that we kind of have or haven't seen before. This one's kind of more Lovecraft-based, where he's getting telepathically manipulated by an extra-dimensional entity into believing a loved one. It had to go into his head. And you see this a lot in alien movies, where like something like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they lure the protagonist in with images of something that's familiar, when really they're just like feeding on their consciousness.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that kind of thing is happening there. We sort of move closer towards that by his father trying to convince him to, hey, go help me free your mom behind this gate that's helping Talo protect us from the realm of darkness. And Shang-Chi is straight up like, no.
Nope. He says no, and they promptly all get thrown into the dungeon. And what happens next is one of the most like genius sort of like things that they could have done that was completely unforeseen to me at least. And they brought back your boy the Mandarin,
the original Mandarin
played by
Ben Kingsley, vet actor, one of the GOATs. Needs to be said, shortly before this, Winwu corrected the name. Okay, so we're not calling this version of the Mandarin. He's going by his original name, Winwu, because he pretty much explains the events of Iron Man 3.
He did.
It says that this appropriation of who he is, was not because of him, but
he was like, yeah, I knew it was out there, and I let it happen.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
He basically said, yeah, he's like, yeah, I let it happen. I just, I didn't care.
So we meet who we actually have called the Mandarin, Mr. Trevor Slattery, played by Ben Kingsley. And he...
My man's been the court jester here for the 10 Rings.
He was in there.
He was brought in there to get killed and save his life through acting and performance.
Mm-hmm. So then we meet Morris.
Hey, shout out to my homie Morris.
One of many real mythological Chinese characters inserted into this film, which we're getting led there because Zhai Ling just decides to kick holes in walls all of a sudden, because she just knows how to do that, and says, hey, I know there's all these kind of secret tunnels throughout the place. How do you think I escaped when I did? But she doesn't explain how she's able to kick down a wall.
That was unexplained. I guess maybe we could infrastructure with all we can assume. Either way, she definitely kicked down that wall very quickly and efficiently.
Yeah.
And they all promptly dipped out and left the compound because Morris says he knew the more specific way to get the Ta Lo, one that wasn't dependent on the time frame that we had heard from Ren Wu, which was a time frame that allowed a more visible opening into the mythical realm once a year.
By the way, we understand the parallels to the mystical city of Kunlun from the Iron Fist show, but these aren't really related, even though it seems like they are. That's one of the 7 capital cities of heaven. This is not. This is just a different dimension, a pocket dimension.
And I know we're going to a lot of crazy places, but hey, here we are. It's the next phase of Marvel. That's what we always doing now. It's multiverse this, it's quantum verse that. Just get used to it.
Yeah, this is where we at right now. First of all, they commit Grand Theft Auto and steal Razorfist's car. And we see
He deserved it.
another super hype car chase scene, which I didn't know we weren't done with at this point in the movie, because we're near the beginning of the third act.
Hey, Aquafina be driving, y'all.
Yeah, she has some skills.
Aquafina was out here like she was Dominic Toretto or something.
Right. He always comes up in our videos. I'm gonna put a picture up of it.
Hey,
They finally make it to Ta Lo, and when they get to Ta Lo, this isn't necessarily a kung fu movie trope, but when they arrive to Ta Lo after that hype car chase scene, it reminds me of when dude gets to the mystical forest in Princess Mononoke. We'll see all the different mystical beings in the forest. You see all that stuff, but these are more real Chinese mythological beings in this sort of pocket dimension that looks like something, once again, out of something like Curse of the Golden Flower or Crouching Tiger or House of Flying Daggers.
basically what we mean by all those very, very great visuals,
Yes.
some nice, lush scenes, and splendid cinematography, if you will.
Yes, man. And this is how this whole movie's done. The inside of Ta Lo, they're not welcome at first. Guangbo says, "Get the fuck back, bro."
Hey, my homie Guangbo ain't trusting none of y'all.
Nah.
He ain't trusting nobody.
He's like Wakandan with it. He's like, outside world, no. Get
No, we don't do that to you.
No. And we finally meet Ying Nan, the aunt of Zhai Ling and Shang Chi.
Played by the Honorable Michelle Yeoh.
Yes, the honorable.
Put some
Michelle Yeoh.
respect on her name.
Her second role in the MCU. After being part of the original Ravagers in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, her role is to show Shang-Chi and Zhai Ling the other side of their heritage, because all they've been exposed to for most of their life is their father's side. And so this movie's theme of balance and family has to play out sort of at the same time in a weird way.
Yep. And family and balance are, again, those are two very heavy, prevalent themes that this movie is really centered around, ultimately. And this, you can kind of view this section of the movie, at least I did. This is kind of The Lion King, where Simba has to remember who he is, if you will.
Yes.
And that's basically what all this is. And we see that happening on both ends. We see that happening with Shang Chi some. We see that happening with his sister, who kind of picks up her old weapon of choice. And we see that with Katie, who ends up taking some archery lessons.
Yeah, all of a sudden she's Hawkeye, which has to be because she takes the money shot at the end of the movie and makes it. We're going to get to that point. I mean, because she had just, all she had done was just pick up a bow and arrow. Ain't no way.
Good training. It's good training.
Very quickly, they get prepared for war. Like, there was not a very big montage there.
Yeah, small turnaround. Because before you know it, Daddy has done pulled up to the spot. He had made it through the portal at the appropriate time, and he was there to try and get his woman back, or so he thought.
He's still crazy. He's been driven crazy. I forgot to mention that Wen Wu is flat out crazy now. So then we get some more exposition. Shang-Chi tells Katie that, you remember I told you I didn't kill that dude?
Actually,
I murked that dude.
Yeah, I caught the body, actually. I actually did catch the body.
And he feels all bad about it. It's just like, I'm going to kill my father. And she's looking at him like he's crazy. She's like, you need some help. You feel like killing your father. And in my head, I'm like, you met this crazy motherfucker.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It seems rather reasonable considering everything we've seen.
Up to this point, yeah.
Just saying.
They all show up, and we see a huge fight scene that's pretty much, I think reminds me of the big fight scene in Endgame, the closest thing Marvel-wise that I can think of. Except for it's colored better.
I mean,
better colors.
Right. I mean, in a sense, maybe it's up there when it comes to big battle scenes. I mean, outside of Endgame, I think the only other like kind of big battle scene that goes down to this level that we've seen so far would have been something like Black Panther. Mm-hmm. I was like,
Black Panther at the end. Reminded me a lot of Black Panther for some other reasons. We'll talk about that here momentarily, Caleb and I. Basically, this part of the movie reminds me of Hero with Jet Li. Which, isn't Tony Leung in this movie? I'm pretty sure he is. So this part of the movie reminds me of, because of the big, huge fight scene. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a different part. Yep. We see big, huge fight scenes in a lot of these old school kung fu movies, but this one specifically had just tied me to Hero, especially with the red versus the different colors and all the arrows flying around.
Which the two distinct
isolated
colors
fights.
Nice. Yep.
So Ying Nan was on Death Dealer and Zhai Ling was on Razor Fist, while Shang was assigned to basically his father. And we see...
Let's talk about this fight.
Another incredible fight scene within a fight scene.
And I mean, it's a two-parter, but this first part, those dudes were going. Those dudes were going hard. I really enjoyed it. I can't say enough good things about the choreography. You know that I feel strongly about the hands, and I'll get further in depth with that later. But this part was good.
We keep telling y'all this movie is off the hands-on-meter charts, dude.
To be very, very clear, your boy Shang-Chi got jacked up.
Yeah, that's because he was trying to use Wing Chun against the person who taught him Wing Chun, and not the Tai Chi that he was taught a few moments earlier. And he could have already had this battle over with.
That's true.
He could have done his, airbending by now.
He got smashed with those 10 rings.
Yeah, smacked
into the water. And goes into the water.
He got Hadouken.
Yeah, he goes crashing into the water, and that frees up his dad to head towards the gate, where he's got to start trying to open it up and free his wife / actually just ruin this whole situation for Ta Lo people.
He's freeing little like Zubats one by one, just and they're starting to go over here and suck souls. They
are sucking
very
people's souls.
Quickly took care of my dude, the Death Dealer.
Yeah, he didn't last long at all.
I thought he might have been into another movie.
Razor Fist changed his mind about cooperation.
Real fast.
Soon after, he didn't want to work together.
Yeah, very fast, because he knew the only weapons that worked against these freaks were the weapons that the Ta Lo people had. Shang goes and wakes up the Great Protector, pretty much the Eternal Dragon.
Yep.
Shinron.
We got the Dragon Balls nearby too.
Now that dragon comes out of the water, just gobbling up creatures from this other dark realm here, and Shang is instructed to, we can keep doing this. You go take care of him before he busts that gate open. Which, part 2 of this fight scene that Caleb was talking about, oh my God, these dudes are scrapping. This is when Shang actually gets half of the 10 rings. He gets 5 of them, and we see him employ the fighting style of pretty much Tai Chi. He's taught by his mother, reminded by his aunt. And this is where we get into a sort of second version of that meta family and balance self-improvement type of deal that's going on throughout the entire movie. And this man mollywops the shit out of his dad.
Yeah, he gets the 10 rings to basically recognize him as the rightful owners.
I'm the king now.
He understands how to use them seemingly better than his
than
his dad.
Look at me.
Yeah, and he starts using them to devastating effect. Again, these scenes were so dope. Honestly, it reminds me of a lot of those kind of higher end kung fu movies that we like. But also, there were a lot of scenes too that made me know for a fact some of these people definitely were watching anime fight scenes.
Because
to
this,
help.
we get into a full-on just fantasy beast bout because Shang-Chi's dad pretty much had already succeeded in busting the gate open because he's an idiot and he's crazy. And the Dweller in the Darkness comes out, starts sucking up souls, sucks up Shang-Chi's dad's soul, so he decides to give him the 10 rings. Idiot now. And now Shang-Chi's trying to fight an extra-dimensional being along with other dudes. And the dragon's got to fight this thing. But these creatures have delivered the Dweller in the Darkness so many souls to gorge on.
He got
that he's strong
superpower
enough to about to suck the soul out of the daggum dragon.
until Katie coming through to save the day. Guangbo tells Katie as they're lining up, we gotta aim for this monster's throat, and that's the last bit of wisdom he gets to tell her before he also gets snatched up.
Guangbo is one of the souls that she's got to shoot out the throat.
R.I.P. Guangbo, you are a real one.
Yes, you are a real one.
But she takes those lessons and she hits the dragon in the throat, kind of gives him the little depower, stops the dragon, the other good dragon, from getting the soul sucked. And at that point, your boy Shang-Chi basically hits the big Kamehameha, if you will.
After the battle has been won with a few casualties, we move toward these two post-credit scenes. The first one, we see Wong arrive at the bar. In my opinion, Caleb, this one is another strange retelling of like the balance of the film, bringing stuff back around in a way. And so we see Wong open up a sling ring portal out of nowhere, come and steal somebody's drink, which makes us think that he's still broke like he was in Infinity War.
He got a gambler problem. That's my hunch.
He might.
That's my hunch. I think he got a gambling problem, but he don't want to tell nobody. It's probably the Greyhounds or something.
Because he stay broke. You know what? That's probably why he was at the fights. He was probably betting against himself or something. Or like, he's probably got an operation going on because he ain't got no reason. He might not.
It all makes sense now.
That's legit. That's more legit than I would like it to be.
Now.
But we see a council of one, a Hulkless Banner. First of all, we're back to Banner without the Hulk. His arm's still in the sling from doing the snap. Why?
Why? How? We don't know.
Who else, Caleb? Who else do we?
We also got Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers.
Yeah, her hair done grew back out.
Yeah, her hair grew back out. You know, she got a little long action going now. And yeah, basically, they're all there to talk about the fact that nobody really knows what's up with the 10 rings or what they're about.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unusual. Wong says that, like, look, we know about all the mythical and magical artifacts here on Earth. Ain't no file on what you got, man.
Neither is there one in space, according to Miss Danvers. And according to Dr. Banner, the readings say that this is far older than how long Wenwu had them.
Yeah. So mysteries, and it set off big into something that was triggered when basically your boy came through with that big Kamehameha. So after all that is concludes, and we don't really still have any answers that we would like, Wong follows it up kind of by telling Shang-Chi and Katie that, hey, you guys are kind of in this whole weird web of craziness, if you will, with superhero things and just the unusual things of the world, and you got to prepare.
I think that in itself is a foreshadowing towards a Shang-Chi sequel, not necessarily a more integrated thing, because he needs his own stuff still, and I think that might be something going towards the McLuhans in the comics, the original bearers of the 10 Rings, creators, yada, yada, yada. Fing Fang Foom and them, who are also a race of freaking dragons, and what all that we see throughout this whole movie.
Dragons.
Yeah, so that might be Shang-Chi Part 2. This one's the Legend of the 10 Rings. It might be the Legend of Fing Fang Foom or something, you know?
And we do know that they are planning to do some more things with Shang-Chi in the future.
So this scene ends sort of like the movie began, except for Wong has joined them, and they are once again hammered in the club singing Hotel California.
Your boy Wong was faded.
By the way, y'all could have played that whole outro solo for me, but That's cool. I know it's how to do your thing. By the way, Anderson Paak, we caught you getting your bread at the end of that.
Get them credit money.
Yeah, dude.
Get that credit money.
Yes,
man.
sir. Yes, sir, Anderson.
Speaking of credits, we did still have one last in credit, if you will.
Yes, we see that unlike Shang Chi had said earlier, Xialing is not dismantling her father's enterprise / empire. She is taking it over and resuming operations under her rule.
Yeah, and her rule, among other things, includes, well, we see female soldiers being added, and we also see a color change of black to red.
Black to red, and we see that she has her homeboy Rufio in charge, as well as Razor Fist by her side. So
Hey,
I
man,
think we might.
everybody needs a loyal number 2.
They do, and I think we might see some of this coming up in the more street level MCU stuff coming out of Falcon and Winter Soldier, like maybe Armor Wars or Hawkeye, or something to do with the Power Broker. You know, we still got Valentina / Madam Hydra building.
Kind of an interesting collection of female villains we got going on here. Be interesting to see what all of them have planned.
So, we want to know how you guys felt about this film. We got some more stuff coming for you, but we wanted to get you guys a good, solid review / recap.
I have no problem saying it. I came into it not a lot of expectations. You know, wasn't expecting a whole lot, and they really blew me away, man. Like some very good character development. A cast that isn't too big, so people don't really get lost in the shuffle.
Yes.
And again, the hands might have the best hands level of any MCU movie. And I know that sounds crazy, and it might sound like a hot take, but if you go watch it, I don't think you'll be saying that.
I think sans a rewatch, it really does. If you want to see some quick evidence gathering, our last video is the top 10 MCU moments. Not the top 10 MCU fights, but there's plenty of fights on the list. And I can't think of one of those movies or any others, especially. I can't think of anything in the entire MCU, but I will go as far as to say any of the big screen features that have this, not only just quality, but this quantity of scraps.
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I just got to say this. This did not make the Black Widow fight scenes come off very good.
No.
You look at it now, that end scene between Widow and Taskmaster feels
If we did
hella weak now.
If we did a top 10 MCU fights, it'd be hard to not make 5 of them in this movie, right?
All right. I mean, all that being said, it's clear from those of us here at the Academy, we thought Shang-Chi slapped. It was a hit, and we give it our stamp of approval.
Yeah. Coming off of the stamp of approval, especially from the hands, this movie seems to be more of an ode to. This movie is more of a tribute to old school kung fu cinema and the sort of beginning to middle of the MCU than it is a retelling of something that's considered to be more comic accurate, like a lot of fans are into when it comes to the MCU. I think that these divergences from the source material really work, especially considering
Agreed.
how well the movie was made. Vivid colors with the visuals, the wardrobe, and the settings, as well as the special effects and the cultural references, remind us of the Black Panther treatment.
Yeah, but particularly for me, I think when I think of the kind of journey we see with Katie's character trying to figure out and navigate her world in between not only figuring out who she wants to be as a person, but also figuring out more of her cultural, traditional roots and where does she fit in with all of that. All of that kind of comes into play in the same way that we kind of see Killmonger struggle with that same sort of concept of being in between two worlds and cultures in Black Panther.
Yes, very much so. Good thing, I like how that sort of is a parallel, but they didn't just stick it to a villain.
Yeah, no,
it's really cool.
Nice touch.
Another touch on that is how Marvel is getting better at making us sympathize with villains.
At the end of these credits, though, we still have so many questions to be asked, even though we've seen so much go down. And you know what? I think that's a good thing coming out of a movie. I think it's a good thing that, you know what, instead of coming out of this movie, and I think with a lot of complaints, which I don't know what you could really be complaining about, that most of us, I think, are going to come out of that movie and you just have all kind of questions as to what the future may hold for Shang Chi and what happened here and how it will affect the Marvel universe.
Because he's going to be a big player in the next big thing. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what Marvel's building up towards. I don't know what the end of Phase 4 is going to be, especially with this multiverse of madness stuff going on. We've seen Wong.
We don't have any clue, but I do know that it all looks very interesting, and I'm looking forward to see what does go down when the time comes.
So now that we've reached this point in this review video, we want to know what you guys think. So let us know what you think about Shang-Chi in the comments. Tell us if any of our takes sort of resonate with you or y'all think it's whack. We want to know. We loved it.
We loved it. We'll probably disagree if you think it's whack, but hey, let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Let us know. Holler at us in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. This is Culture Core Academy. I'm Ping. This is Caleb. Class is dismissed.